Hello fellow old schoolers and happy new year. It's the 1st of January 2022 here, and we're kicking things off straight off the bat here with another game. This time this recording is from this holiday, the Christmas holiday, where we had a meetup between two playgroups, namely Aalborg Electric Eels, the playgroup I'm from, and I think the closest playgroup we have, guys that we play a lot with usually. These are the Long Island crew. And that altar you saw at the beginning of the recording, that was made by Espen. It's a scorecard where we are tallying score for each event. And this is the first of its kind, and we're going to compete in deck matchups. We're going to compete in a draft out of an old school cube, where we just make our own decks out of scratch and play against each other. And then we're going to compete in table tennis with various rules. We're just making these up as we go along. Anyway, this is the first match between Jacob Frey on his blue and red counterburn against Jacob, my old childhood friend, on his Tropical Twister, an old favorite on the channel. Let's go over the decks real quick here. Now, Tropical Twister, as we see here, is blue and green. Now, in my mind, it's one of those rare, spicy brews that can actually go toe-to-toe with Tier 1 decks without using any of the usual strategies for a Tier 1 deck here. Instead, opting for a lot of spicy cards in combination to gain card advantage and control over the game, and then finish the game with a big beater. It is a work of art, in my opinion. So, we see it here. It makes use, in the beginning of the battle, it will make use of those mazes of Ith, and after sideboard another maze of Ith and an island of Wak Wak if it's against flying creatures, in combination with candelabras of Taunus, where you can just tap and untap those protective lands and reuse Maze of Ith and Island of Wak Wak again and again. It can also reuse its own Library of Alexandria and obviously pump its factories into huge creatures with those candelabras. After that, the enemy will usually deploy a lot of creatures to overrun the mazes, and those drop of honeys can get out, and they will munch a single creature each upkeep of Tropical Twister, starting with the the lowest in power, I think, because the drop of honey just grows bigger and bigger, and it will require more and more strength to get out of it. He will also try to survive with all his counter magic, having 4 counter spells and a mana drain and a couple of power sinks to just counter the other guy out, and then at some point draw into an amnesia, empty the other guy's hand and drop a big beater like a Mahamouchi Jin or an air elemental. Back in the day, he also used killer bees as a killing move, which I thought was pretty damn thematic in combination with those drop of honey, but he's opted in for the sushis in this particular version. So he will usually win in the late game with this brew, trying to survive the early game with those Candelabra of Taunus and special lands. The Stream of Life will help in that regard, because he can get additional life points out of that later on in the game, and can even sacrifice life into the Sylvan Library for additional card draws. Then it takes its name, this deck, also from the Time Twister, because he will usually get so much mana that he will cast Time Twister and then immediately after that not Mind Twist but Amnesia the other guy for his entire hand, and then finish the game with a big beater backed up by counter magic. So it is a pretty slow control-ish archetype. It's not really, it's its own archetype, I suppose. Blue, green, Tropical Twister. A couple of Sonic Blasts has found their way in here also as additional removal, and a way to just ping the other guy with a bit of burn. Sometimes he uses Storm Seekers instead. And we see he still has one of those Storm Seekers in the sideboard here. So that's this pile of spicy cardboard. He's coming up against a tried and true Tier 1 deck here, namely the UR Counterburn. Now my program is glitching here. It keeps on calling this Tropical Twister, but it is UR Counterburn. I can't really delete it for some reason, but here we have it. It's blue and red, and Jacob has gotten a hold of a Serendip Jin, so he put that in there, a bit more of a suicide attacker, I suppose, along with the Serendip Efreets and Flying Men for a lot of flying aggro here. And this is backed up by a heck of a lot of burn, namely the 4 lightning bolts, 4 chain lightnings and 4 psionic blasts. This version has opted out of black, so no Mind Twist and no Demonic Tutor, but instead it has found room for additional power sinks to increase its counter game here. So it's actually on par with a Tropical Twister, which is a bit of a rarity. Tropical Twister usually dominate the counter war because he has so much counter magic. We also see 3 Blood Moons main deck here. Now, main deck Blood Moons can be brutal against multicolored decks because it renders all special lands into mountains, and thereby for many decks they'll be useless, and the mountains can't remove Blood Moon because you can't really disenchant or Tranquility or anything like that with mountains. But he's up against a 2-colored deck here, so on the face of it, it shouldn't be that brutal. But we know that Tropical Twister uses its special lands for early game survival, and I wonder if those Blood Moons will be pivotal in this matchup because it will render the Mazes of Ith and the Island of Wak Wak into mountains. Now this UR counterburn has no access to Moxen, but he does have blue power and can red blast the other guy's blue power after sideboard because he has access to 3 red blasts here. He can also put in those Juggernauts for additional mid-range damage if needs be. If he wants to try to overrun the Mazes of Ith. There's a control magic as well to try to nick perhaps a Mahomochi Gen if he can make it happen. But I bet especially those red blasts will be kind of good here. So it is a bit of a weird matchup. We have a variant of an archetype from the old school scene that is widely regarded as a tier 1 deck coming up against Tropical Twister. Let's see how this plays out. We have UR Counterburn on the left here, Tropical Twister on the right. Ooh, and a hefty start from Tropical Twister, starting off with a library. Ooh, a double library here. And advantage UR Counterburn because he is on the draw, so he will actually be able to use it in the other guy's end step and can use it for mana in his own main phase if he chooses to do that. And a Mox and a Mistress Factory coming out of Tropical Twister. UR Counterburn draws at his end step with a library and then gets another draw in his main phase here. Let's see what he can make happen. An island that's likely a flying men, yeah. There we go. First flying aggro out of UR Counterburn. So this game will speed up likely because both will amass a heck of a huge card advantage. Maze of Ith here. Oh, Time Walk. Good place to cast it here because he can get another draw with a library and another land drop. He seems a bit mana starved though, placing that mace at this point. Oh, there's a Candelabra of Taunos. Nice for him. So we get another draw at his end step. UR Counterburn drawing 2 cards here. Volcanic Island coming out. Now a Chain Lightning to the face of Tropical Twister. He can't attack with the Flying Men though. At his end step, Tropical Twister uses his Candelabra of Taunos to untap his library, then draws with it, and then it's his turn. So pretty nice usage out of that Candelabra right there. Tropical Island coming out. Ooh, regrowth in the Time Walk. And then he plays it again. So even more draw power with that library. He can't place another land unless he's mana starved, of course. He passes turn here. I think, yep, the other guy draws with the library in his end step. But both players will have difficulties removing those Library of Alexandria. So there are the Blood Moons, of course, so that's about it. Okay, discarding the Sonic Blast here. And now, yeah, the other guy just drew with the library at Tropical Twister's face here, and now it's his turn. So both libraries are active, but Tropical Twister can use his twice a turn if he wants to, because of that Candelabra of Taunos. Oh, another Chain Lightning. Straight to the dice. Putting Tropical Twister down to 14 points of life. Oh, as a response, he taps with the library, draws the library, untaps it, and no, he just draws with the library, trying to find a counterspell perhaps for that Chain Lightning. Didn't get any. I wonder if you can use the library and then with the library effect on the stack, untap it and use it again while still having 7 cards in hand, so that he can use it twice in a row, even though he gets above 7 in the first draw. I don't know if that's a viable way to do this. Oh, he's really mana-starved, getting rid of some cards here. And another one, oh, Mahamudi Jin's Power Sink and a Mace of Ith. No, not a Mace of Ith, Yandai Tomb getting discarded here. Drawing so many cards. It's lucky for Tropical Twister that he has so many draws. Oh, another Chain Lightning though. Now these can be dangerous against because you likely let the first few in because you want to save your counter magic, but the moment they get into lethal range, you're in a bit of a trouble because you don't have as much counter magic as he has burn. Something is happening in the response. As a response to the Chain Lightning, he casts Ancestral Recall here. And they're discussing it a bit here. I think Counterburn wants to draw with his library as a response to the Ancestral Recall, trying to get a counterspell for the Ancestral rightly. So he does that here. So we're still in the midst of a spell. Ooh, he drew into a counterspell, I think. Now countering. Oh, but the other guy, this is so complex. The other guy uses his Candelabra of Taurus, untaps his Tropical Island, and then he can tap and untap and tap again the Tropical Island to get a double blue, and then counter the other guy's counterspell. Now, mind you, this is all happening at the same time as that Chain Lightning resolves, but it gets in though, putting Tropical Twister down to 11 points of life here. Now he drew into another island here. He seems to be has he discarded his Candelabra? That's a mistake. I hope they rectify this. I think the Pirate of Tropical Twister mentioned that he was very rusty at this point. Ooh, that's a drop of honey though. Bit of an overkill against that Flying Man, but I think it's this or discarding that's the problem for Tropical Twister, and he likely has another in hand. Yeah, he even has to discard another card because he draws so many cards and has so little mana. Okay, Counterburn still drawing with the library. Okay, now Tropical Twister remembers he has a Candelabra of Taurus. He puts it back out. Ooh, another Chain Lightning though. That's the fourth Chain Lightning to the face of Tropical Twister. Now this is what I'm talking about. When you get so many burn spells out, at some point you need to start countering them. A counter spell on that Chain Lightning. There's only a single red mana source for Counterburn though. It's a bit surprising that both players are so mana starved here with so many draws. Drop of Honey envelops the Flying Men and gets removed when there are no creatures left for it to gobble up. Okay, Factory coming out of Tropical Twister. And what's that? Bit of glare there. That's a Mox, I think. No. Before he plays that, uses that to play a Sol Ring. Okay. Ooh, then he uses Amnesia. Yeah, he's using his own Candelabra of Taurus. Oh, get countered. Oh, but what's going on here? Mana draining the counter spell, so the Amnesia gets in. And that was with the usage of that. Oh, look at this hand. Time Walk. A lot of burn, a couple of Serendipity Freaks, and a Lightning Bolt, Fireball, Sonic Blasts. And pulling the other guy away from his library range. 2 colorless mana in his next main phase from that mana drain. So that's a brutal punch in. Only made possible by that Candelabra of Taurus because he could untap his islands after casting that spell and then use those islands to counter the other guy's counter spell. So it's a bit of an uphill struggle trying to see through what's going on here because there's so many effects on the stack all the time with that Candelabra of Taurus. Third Factory coming out of Tropical Twister. Now he looks through his graveyard. He has spent his regrowth, but he has a recall in that deck. Oh, but he attacks with 2 Factories coming in, and 1 gets pumped, so 5 points of damage here. Now Tropical Twister has the other guy where he wants him because he's without much of a hand, so he can't really bolt those Factories because the Amnesia hit home. Passing the turn back to Counterburn here. Moving in with all those Factories. Ooh, that's a Blood Moon though. Brutal time to place it here. Ah, power sinking it. That was his ticket out of there. Because it will render the active library unworkable and also make the factories into mountains. But Tropical Twister had foreseen this and kept the power sink in hand, up his sleeve here. I think he's out of library range though. Here's the recall. Recall for 2. Gets rid of a power sink and a stream of life. Gets the regrowth and a time walk back now. Get ready for some factory action here. So he attacks for 5. I don't think that he should do that. I think he should attack with 1 factory and then time walk. Okay, he does so here. He corrected it. An attack for 1, pumps it for 3 points of damage. Takes his next turn. Now he can get the real punches in here. And mind you, he does have a regrowth in hand as well, and the other guy is tapped out. Excellent stuff for Tropical Twister here. I suppose he could use the Candelabra. Oh, he doesn't have the mana, but he could have used them to pump the factories even further. He uses that to regrowth the time walk. Now he can time walk again, and then attack for lethal. Coming in for 6 points of damage each turn. And if he draws additional mana, he can tap and untap his factories before he attacks and pump them up. So Tropical Twister takes the first one. It's 1-0. And 1-0 for Long Island Crew here. Beating one of the Eels in the first match here. Now these guys will sideboard. So yeah, I think we'll have the Red Blasts out of UR Counterburn in there. Perhaps a control magic. And we'll have the Blue Blast out of Tropical Twister, likely. I think he should take in his Juggernauts as well. They're better than the Serendipity Freaks in this matchup because the Maces of Ith can keep the Serendipity Freaks back and they'll ping UR Counterburn. And as Tropical Twister, it doesn't really play with bolts, and he'll likely sideboard his artifact removal out here, his Crumbles, because UR Counterburn has almost no artifacts. So I think the play here should be putting the 3 Juggernauts, put in the 3 Red Blasts, and put in a control magic. For Tropical Twister, I don't know. The Blue Blasts are obvious picks, and obviously also the 4th Mace of Ith. He could take in Rhinehand of Wak Wak as well, because there are so many flyers opposing him here, as is usual with the blue-red Counterburn archetype. So yeah, he'll likely take that in and take the Crumbles out. But we'll see if these predictions hold true, or if some of them hold true. Let's go straight into round number 2. And UR Counterburn should be on the play here. Let's see if he can make something happen. Ooh, round 1. Turn 1 library again here. What are the odds? I mean, that's pretty damn crucial for him. Now he can draw into 7 cards and then use it. Getting down another island. These guys have the same favorite artwork for island. I have a different one, but this is nice as well. Time walking out of Tropical Twister here. Chaos Orb. Oh, that's so crucial. Now Chaos Orbing the library. Let's see if it hits. The player is pretty rusty, as he said. Oh my, he actually missed. Oh, I feel for him. I just made the same move at a tournament recently, that was recorded in the semifinals. Missing an active library with your Chaos Orb, that's pretty damn brutal. So yeah, the library is still alive. This might cost Tropical Twister the game, unless he can get something out. I think UR Counterburn has all the time in the world here. Ooh, Mace of Ith, he's a bit mana starved again, Tropical Twister. But I think UR Counterburn will just keep his counter magic up to stop an Amnesia or something, and then just draw into a lot of cards with that library. Now there's a factory on both sides, and an active library on UR Counterburn, another island. No red mana yet. The moment he starts to draw into red mana, that library will be lethal because he's got so much burn in that deck. So drawing that many cards will just be equal to a lot of potential damage. Okay, it's a 70% using the library for that, so he really wants to keep his counter magic up. It's a bit of an odd play. It surprises me because there's a Maze of Ith to handle that 70%. So now the 70% will ping you are counterburn. Perhaps he has a Chaos Orb or something to handle that maze? Or Blood Moon? Drawing 2 cards again. Draws with the library in his upkeep when he still has 7 cards. We saw that he didn't have any Stone Rains or anything in his sideboard. So, and I wonder if he has taken his Blood Moons out. You can do that when you know that you're against only 2 cards, only 2 colors. Another 70%. Okay, he tries to overrun the Maze of Earth. But it gets countered. So now he's got a bit of a dead weight in that 70%, just staying back and poking himself in the head. He needs more attackers. He's cutting a Shatter here. Oh, he sideboarded Shatters in. Oh, that makes sense to get rid of the Candelabra of Taunus, likely. So at the moment, the 70% just pings you are counterburn. He's an aggressive fella. He wants his payment each turn. Another island out of you are counterburn. Yeah, he wants his payment each turn in blood. That's 70%. He needs to discard another card. Discarding a counterspell. He must have a heck of a lot of counterspells in hand. Another factory coming out of Tropical Twister here. Passing the turn. Another ping from the 70%. So we can see here why the mazes have become so popular in the Danish meta. I think it started out with there were so many 70%. Unfortunately, it also hurt my Dusemdians, even though there aren't that many Dusemdians in the meta. But yeah, Tropical Twister used 4 Mazes of Ith before it was in vogue, if you can say that. He has been using that as long as I can remember. As long as he's had that deck anyway. But he's up against an active library here, so time is against Tropical Twister, even though... Ooh, that's a Strip Mine. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. When you have an active library, you draw into answers, even if there aren't that many answers. Now he can get in. 4 points of damage. Swinging here from the air. Air forces coming in. Putting Tropical Twister down to 16 points of life here. And passing the turn to him. We need some defenses out of Tropical Twister here, but he is against an active library and kind of missed his shot. Okay, so he just draws go here. At least his 2 factories can keep the other factories back, but as said, time is against him. Here he comes again. Those creatures will... that active library will just make it possible for you, our counterburn, to continue the pressure like this. Getting out another 70% here. Oh, but there's a power sink on it. Alright. Do we have a counter spell to counter the power sink? It gives it a good think here. Looks like it. Yep, countering the power sink. So the 70% gets played. That's a heck of a lot of damage. Drawing into another island. Now he has a single tropical island, but apparently no drop of honey in hand. Oh, but there's a Mahamochi Jin, his guardian, at the gates there. It's way bigger than the 70%. And he might hold back the hordes for us time here. 5/6 flying. He takes 2 damage from the 70%. He has done so. Down to 8, I think. Oh, there's a control magic. Brainwashing the Mahamochi Jin and then coming in for a bunch of damage. Now next turn the Mahamochi Jin will get in as well. It's high treason here. Tropical Twister forfeits the game here at this point. He can't keep up with that much. That turncoat of a Mahamochi Jin was the nail in the coffin for him here. So it's 1-1 at this point. The first match between Electric Eels and Long Island Crew is a bit of a nail biter. Third match, Tropical Twister mulliganing down to 6 cards. He's on the play. Island, Muck Sapphire. He can counter from the get-go here. Okay, island into a flying men. Aggro starting up already out of UR counterburn. It's Mace of Ith though. Passing the turn. Looks like he had an ancestor recall. No double blue mana out of UR counterburn, so he can't counter yet. He does have power sinks though, as we saw in the deck picture, so he can actually counter a bit. I think there's a Sol Ring coming out of him. Played with a factory. He still has a double blue mana up, and he doesn't mind tapping his factory because he has a Mace of Ith to handle any attackers from UR counterburn here. Okay, playing a City of Bracia, now attacking with both the flying men and the factory. So macing the factory gets a single poke in with those flying men, putting Tropical Twister down to 19 points of life here. But I suppose as long as he keeps his factory untapped. Oh, but there's an Island of Wak Wak. He must have sideboarded that in. So he has enough lands now to handle both attackers. It does cost him a land drop though, so as we see, Tropical Twister is a bit behind here in the beginning, but that's not unusual for his deck because most of his defenses are lands. Another factory coming down. Still no double blue mana out of UR counterburn, passing the turn. Ooh, a Library of Alexandria. This matchup is such a library themed matchup. Guess because they don't have that much to handle them. I think he has sideboarded the Blood Moons out. I'm not sure about that. I think they are great against all the special lands of Tropical Twister, but I don't think UR counterburn knows Tropical Twister quite as... hasn't played against it as much as I have. And we have a Mace of Ith in the bottom there, just outside the camera angle. 3 factories and a flying men. Against a blocking factory, a strip mine, Island of Wak Wak, and a Mace of Ith. Now there's the volcanic island, so we have some free bolts to be played now. Yep, there's the first one, Chain Lightning coming down. I think Tropical Twister is saving up for that library here. Not playing anything. Just trying to get 7 cards in hand so he can get start to get the ball rolling with that Library of Alexandria. Start to read some books. Okay, here we go. 7 cards in hand. Now he can ride the wave. UR counterburn really needs to do something here. This is such a situation. Black Wisers would be great. But I suppose even without the Blood Moons, he still has a Strip Mine and a Chaos Orb. Serenity Befried coming out. Yeah, I suppose you gotta play some creatures and then at some point try to overwhelm the land-based defenses here. Okay, another one. So that's a lot of attackers here. 3 factories, 2 Serenity Befrieds, and a Flying Man. Now, will Tropical Twister allow this? There's double blue mana up from UR counterburn, so he can actually kind of insist on that play with another counterspell if Tropical Twister tries to counter it. Oh, scratch that, it wasn't a Sol Ring. Ah, that darn glare. It's actually, it's another one of those Candelabra of Taunus. Okay, so he uses that. So much happens here. Red blasting the power sink. He uses the Candelabra to untap his library, drew with that, drew into a power sink, tries to power sink the Serenity Befried, but it gets red blasted. So the Serenity Befried survives. It's a lot of pings on UR counterburn though, and with that Candelabra of Taunus under that glare, he can use and reuse the Library of Alexandria and also the Mace of Ith and the Island of Wak Wak. Chaos Orb coming down. So it's sort of like having 2 maces and 2 Islands of Wak Wak and 2 libraries at this point. Just pinging those Serenity Befrieds, really hurting the other guy. The counterburn player takes 2 points of damage each turn. It all adds up. Down to 13 points of life here. He needs to make something happen. But I think it's correct from him to play all these creatures, because he can't just sit back and wait for that library. He'll lose if he does that. He needs to try to go for the kill. Here he comes. Full swing. 6 creatures. 1 gets strip mined here. Okay, so we got 2 factories, 2 Center Defeats, and a flying man. So a Mace of Ith on one of the factories, and an Island of Wak on one of the flyers. Then he untaps both lands. This is amazing. Maces another factory and then uses the Island of Wak again on the other Sandy Befried. Oh, there you go. But he only has a single blue land untapped, so he can play another creature without it getting countered. As a Serendip Djinn. Now it will eat a land each turn, so this is all in from UR counterburn, but I don't think he has a choice. He needs to try to overwhelm the formidable defenses. Perhaps try to draw a shatter to get rid of that candelabra. The candelabra of Taunus is really what's holding this entire thing together right now. Gives Tropical Twister a lot of draws with the library if he wants to use it for that. Otherwise, it just doubles his defensive lanes up. Anyway, the Serendip Djinn will eat a land each turn. If that land is an island, it does 2 points of damage to its controller on top of that. It's 5/6 flying for 4 mana. So he's a big dog, big fella here. Like a cheap Mahamoti Djinn with a drawback. Okay, discarding his Time Twister. Now losing a bunch of life here. And sacrificing a City of Brass. And that doesn't provide him any damage, because a City of Brass, even though it can produce blue mana, it's not an island. Oh, but he chooses to sack his island. He must be at... Okay, I think there's a dice outside the camera angle there. I'll likely put some life in the bottom below then. In the after editing. Mountain coming down. Okay, so... Here he comes again. 2 factories, a Serendip Djinn, 2... That's a lot of stuff coming in here. Okay, let's see if Tropical Twister can brace for impact here. With all his tricks. Macing one, Island of Wak on the other. Yeah, I suppose... Oh, then he plays a crumble on the factory, one of the factories. Okay. Yes, use that. So he needs to use a couple of mana to untap his lanes. Using a 4 mana? Okay, to untap the green mana and the library and all the maze and the island of Wak. Tapping the library again for another draw. Ooh, and then, oh my god! 2 more crumbles here. Just 1 more crumble. That's 2 crumble all in all. And then you can use the Island of Wak and the mace again. So really just neutering UR counterburn with that Candelabra of Taunus. Spicy stuff. It's not every day that you see a casual Candelabra in a deck. I usually only see them in Candle Flare, that archetype. But just casually flinging 2 Candelabras in a deck, I've never seen that before, besides this one. So, as another couple of pings on UR counterburn from this Center Befried, he tries to bolt. Oh, there's another bolt. Blue blasting it though. Okay, he is dangerously low in life. Now the Serendip Djinn. Okay, here we see the life totals. Yeah, so he's down to 12 points of life. And UR counterburn down to 9. Coming in again with all the flying circus here. Macing 1, using the Wak on the other, untapping both lanes. I think that's me just strolling by, trying to rectify the camera angle here. Oh, there's a time walk. This is crucial. Tropical Twister is tapped out as a counterspell though. Is there another counterspell? No. That was a lifesaver actually. Because he could untap and then swing for... That's a lot. 11, 12 points of damage. That would be enough. It would actually kill Tropical Twister if that Time Walk went through. Oh, he has a Chaos Orb though, so he could take out the Serendip Gen. But still, it would be a brutal punch-in. Okay. But he doesn't even... He shows him that he has the two... oh, there's another Bolt. That he has 2 drop of honeys. Actually putting a Tropical Twister down to very few life here. Serendip Gen eats a mountain. But he can't get in. So, passes the turn. That's another draw. Just another island. Tropical Twister just sits back and lets the other guy implode with all his gens. Oh, there's a Shatter on the Candelabra of Taunos here. Another trying. Oh, there's Sonic blasting him straight out. There's a Lightning Bolt as a response and a Blue Blast on the Lightning Bolt. Just stack on stack on stack here. But Tropical Twister ends up blocking the Lightning Bolt, Sonic blasting the other guy, and winning the game straight out. Those Serendip Ifrits will end up causing UR Counterburn to lose this match. So, Tropical Twister wins this one 2-1 against a tried and true archetype. The spicy but formidable defenses of Tropical Twister hold true here against the onslaught from UR Counterburn with all the attackers and burn spells. Good match this one, good starting match on this event. So thank you for watching, and I will follow up with some more videos from this little event here. Have a splendid start on 2022, you guys. Hopefully we'll get some more old school games in. Bye bye.